Blog Talk Radio.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot, oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only Supernatural Girls.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girls Radio. I am your host, Patricia Baker, and I'm here with PK. How you doing, PK?
Absolutely fabulous.
All right.
All excited. Good night. Good job. What can you say after you say? Because look at the guest we've got tonight. Wahoo!
I know. We have a very, very special guest who's so dear to our heart. We have Bob Luca with us tonight. We're going to introduce him in just a few minutes, and you guys are in for a treat because you're going to hear a lot of things that you have not heard anywhere else. So get ready. We are going to have a terrific show tonight with lots of big reveals on what's going on in the world and all these prophecies that were given back in the day to Betty Andreasson Luca, Bob's wife, and Bob himself. They're now coming to pass. We're going to be talking about that and all the government harassment that they've endured over 30 years of it. And they've got Bob's going to tell the story tonight to all of us. So before we go there, though, you took a look at the royal baby, and you found some very interesting things in those numbers.
Well,
so do tell. We got to know.
Well, firstly, the nice part is the baby's birthday, of course, May 6th of 2019. That means that this youngster is going to be a very sensitive soul, and all that's well and good. But I've taken a look at the name that he's been given, Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor. Wow, where did Archie come from? I don't remember ever seeing that anywhere, but that's his name. That being said, A is the first letter of his first name is going to make him one extremely headstrong little guy. It's got to be his way or the highway. I take a look at the birth month and day, and that also tells me he deals with ultra sensitivity. So this little guy is going to be ultra sensitive to females. Look out, Mama, here he comes. He's going to be Daddy's boy, and that's going to be it more than anything else. He's extremely headstrong, but he will give and take. Well, loves change, but he'll be very low-key about wanting changes. They'll just kind of pop out here and there, detailed, but there's a strong compassion for the world at large, and that's great for his position. But there's a lot of family issues that are going to pop up around him, a lot of family stuff. And the one place that he's karmic and working with is he's missing the need to be more spiritual. He's going to have to learn that details are important, and he's going to have to kind of work off of that element. So I'm afraid that Mama's got to have her hands full. But of course, you can have as much help as you can have being them. But this child is more daddy's than anything else. That's for sure. So it's going to be very interesting to watch.
And you said he was a karmic 7, right?
Yes, because he's missing the 7th. He's here to learn and to be taught. He needs to. This is very important for him to learn these things. And we're taking a look at this. Today is a day when secrets are made known. And, of course, the name came out today. That's one of the secrets.
Right.
But there are other things that are happening around that are going to be hitting the fence. And I say the fence because it's going to get people by the seat of the pants. This is going to be going on for the next couple of weeks. It's going to be like watching a bouncing ball. One minute you think, oh, my God, is there anything more coming? The next minute there'll be something else. But we talked about it last month about secrets being made known, that this month would make it difficult. And we're just skimming the surface.
Oh,
So,
boy.
hang on, folks. You're going to,
Yeah.
some cases,
Better hang on.
die because the I told you so, and the other part is like hide under the table.
Oh, gosh. Well, now, if you want your own reading with Patricia Kirkman, go to her website, patriciakirkman.com. You can also go to supernaturalgirls.com, and you can book your own appointment to find out what's coming up in the numbers for you and also what your name means and your birth date. So don't hesitate to reach out to PK and get that done. That's a lot of ammunition to have. I highly recommend it. We also have something new on the Supernatural Girls website. We have our store that we've opened, and we have our magic candles for sale. Now, these candles are very powerful. We've talked about the candles in a couple of shows. Oh, thank you. Yes, they are. They're incredible. We have them for soul clearing. We also have them for love and for wealth. So take a look. Now, this is a new store. If there are any glitches and you're not able to place your order, just send me an email and I'll take care of it for you. So give it a try. It's brand new, and if it's working, that's great. Fingers crossed. If not, send me an email. Tell me which candles you are interested in. We'll go from there. And the price of the candles is right there on the website. It includes shipping. We can only ship, however, sad to say, to the continental U.S. We checked into shipping to Europe for some of our audience members, and it was out of sight. We're talking $70 to send one candle. So it's not cost effective to ship them overseas. So I'm sorry we won't be able to do that for you unless you want to pay that kind of money to ship it. I doubt you do. But if you have friends coming over to the U.S., they can certainly pick up the candles for you. That's another way to do it that was suggested by a new client who said, yes, I will see if I have friends coming over there to get them. So anyways, they're great candles. They're not your typical candle that you buy in a store. This is very special, and they have all the magical ingredients from Katrina and Eric Rasbold. They are the ones who design the candles with me, and they make them, and all of the mojo, believe me, it's in there. So highly recommended you take a look at those. And, of course, soul realignment. I'm doing lots of sessions, learning a lot about all these people that are coming to me, and it's fascinating. So if you want to take a look at your life through that lens, then just also send me an email. We'll find a time and a date for you to hear about that. And
you've done mine, and it's fabulous. It really is.
Oh,
don't miss out on that.
Thank you. Thanks. It was a privilege to do it, and I know it's one of those things that it walks with you everywhere you go. Once you hear the information, you really can make it work in a great way for yourself. Now, I know, PK, you're going to have to take off in a minute because you have a special guest at home.
Yes, I do.
I know. But I'm so grateful that you're joining us for this. If you can just hang out for this one story, because, usually we post lots of really fascinating stories about cryptids, UFO sightings. Well, this story was sent to me by one of our past guests, my recent guest actually, Paul Blake Smith, sent this to me and I posted it for us. But it's the most troubling UFO abduction case I've ever read. So I want to urge everybody to go to our Facebook page and read it. I'm going to tell you the bare bones about it. And Bob and I will discuss it because it is extremely strange, and to me, it gives me the chills because it's not just aliens involved in this woman's experience. Apparently, she was abducted by aliens. She was returned in a small ship, and the ship crashed. The ship was recovered by the military, and she was taken in handcuffs. I mean, this is a very, very upsetting story. So it speaks to the military being involved with a couple of different alien races. It talks about taking one of our own hostage, and we're going to talk more about this. It's not a good story, but I think everybody needs to hear about this. This also leads me to say something about some of the shows we've had in the past on the missing people, the smiley face killer. Had those detectives on, and Doc was on with us. You have to also consider that this might be a military operation and have alien involvement. So these are all questions that need answers, and we're going to see what we can dig into tonight. So, PK, thank you again for coming in at the beginning of the show.
Thank you for my opportunity to be here. And, Bob, I'm going to catch you on the rerun. That's the nice thing that we can do. If I have to miss it, I can get it later. Thanks. Good luck, guys.
Okay.
Good night.
All right. Good night. Now, everybody, you are in for a treat, as I said, because we have expert and author Bob Luca with us. He's going to tell us about the government harassment of UFO abductees and witnesses. Now, Bob is a witness. He's an abductee himself. He's had multiple experiences with being tracked, followed, harassed, drugged in his home for over 30 years. So it just goes on and on. Now, Bob's wife, Betty, is known worldwide for her highly detailed alien abduction account reported in the book, The Andreasson Affair. It was a New York Times, bestseller, and just recently, Bob and Betty wrote another book called A Lifting of the Veil, and that book details everything that's happened since the Andreasson Affair came out. Quite a wild ride. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Patricia. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Always enjoy talking with you, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, same here. And I'm so pleased that you're with us tonight because we've got a lot to talk about. But first of all, people need to know it wasn't just Betty that had UFO experiences. It was also you. And
yes.
Was it right after the book came out, or was it while the book was in process that you started to have these occurrences with black helicopters and all of these other horrible events?
Well, actually, the very first one with the black helicopter was before I met Betty. I had forgotten about it. We neglected to put that in the book. But she was still in Ashburnham, Massachusetts, and she was out in her garden. And on a couple of occasions, a large black helicopter came along, stopped over the garden, and appeared to be watching her. And Ray Fowler at first thought, well, maybe a National Guardsman, just looking at a pretty girl or something like that. He didn't connect it in the very beginning. But that was actually the very first time that she had sighted a helicopter. After that, it was when the Andreasson Affair, the first book, was in the process of being published, and it was known that it was going to be published. And what happened was we were living in Meriden, Connecticut at the time, and two things happened almost simultaneously, really. We started noticing these black, unmarked Huey UH-1 military helicopters were flying over the house quite often enough that some of the neighbors even documented the flights because they were so low. And my other phone just rang. I hung it up. They were so low, they vibrated the windows. So neighbors, one of our neighbors who was a city councilwoman, started to document the flights. And shortly after that, the first year, the IRS decided that apparently they thought we couldn't add or subtract or handle our finances because they started helping us by calling us in every year to have an audit. And some of the questions at the audit were, what did you see? What did the beings look like? What did the craft look like? And so on, which is
God,
a little unusual.
It's not a typical. Yeah, it's not a typical audit, I would say. God.
No, for sure. But that was the very beginning. That's when it started. And we didn't know. We were subjected to very intense government surveillance. And I'll explain that as we go on. I mean, it included our telephone being tapped, being followed in our car, even out everywhere from New Hampshire to Florida, and being followed by cars when I got the license plates and gave them to police officer Larry Fawcett, they came back as unissued. So, this wasn't your neighbors that were driving those things.
Right.
The FBI had us under surveillance for years, and I finally, after harassing them for the longest time, I finally got an admission in writing from the FBI that, yes, they were keeping a file on us. However, when I requested the file, they said that in accordance with certain FBI regulations, the file had been destroyed, which I have a little problem believing. But anyways, I have that in writing.
Absolutely.
Well, also,
I think you're the only person I know in this whole field that has been able to get those admissions. And I know you have others too, and we're going to get into that later too. But I have to congratulate you on your persistence, because I don't know anybody else who's been treated this way, and there's quite a few that have this kind of documentation. So I have to say good for you.
Well, thank you. I became a real pain in the bottom end to them until I finally got some results. It got to a point where I had sent them certified mail requesting these things, and they left it until the certified mail was returned. They wouldn't even pick it up or sign for it. And I still have the envelopes that have been returned with the certified mail stamps on them, unopened. So I guess I finally got on somebody's nerves.
Yeah, definitely. They finally decided to admit their wrongdoing.
And then I think I'm the only one that has actually gotten proof of the Department of Defense hacking my computer. And that was fairly recent, right? That was fairly recent. I mean, that wasn't from 30 years ago. That's fairly recent. Well, it happened in 2004, and I think I got the information in 2017. So okay. it took a while. But I mean, I went through everyone, even when they kept giving me this BS story. I even contacted my state senator and asked him to get his office involved in trying to help. And they gave him the same story as they gave me, even though I gave them the name of the person I contacted to, the file number they had given me, the dates, and the contents. According to the Department of Defense, they couldn't find any of the papers on it, even though I had sent them copies, actually. So, they're just going to stonewall you, and that's as far as you get with it in most cases. However, I did write to the Inspector General of, I believe it was the Navy, and complained about it. And they couldn't argue because I had some good security software. I had the number of their computer, the physical street address, the name of the operator. So I got a letter of admission that it was actually their computers. And I think I'm the only one that has something like this so far that I know of. But again, it took many, many letters, a lot of time, just a real pain for me to try to get that far with them. Now, they were obviously spying on you for all these years. And you know what? One of my goals is to get you on Fox News with Tucker, because Tucker has been reporting all the UFO stories. I don't know if anybody else in our audience has noticed that, but usually if there's a UFO story, it's Tucker that's on top of it. So I think it would be great if you could have this discussion in a smaller format, obviously, a time frame, but with Tucker, because that gets you to a wider audience. A lot of people don't realize that this is going on, and that's why I thought this show is so important to have you here talking about. This is what happens when they find out you've had a UFO abduction, anything that they deem of import to them. They take it upon themselves to break all these laws and just start spying on civilians like you and Betty. So let's absolutely continue. Yeah, this is terrible. And so let's go on from there. The other thing is they have no problem with threatening you. We had 3 different occasions. One, we were doing a lecture at MIT in Massachusetts, and Dr. Alan Hynek was there, who, of course, was the spokesman for the Air Force as scientific advisor. Now, during a break, he rushed over to Betty real quick, and he said, stick to philosophy and leave the military out of this. So from him, I think he was being nice. I think he was letting us know that were irritating somebody. On
Yes.
another occasion, a friend, well, I won't say a friend, an acquaintance who was a scientist happened to attend the CIA meeting, and when he returned to the state, he came to our house, asked me to come outside, would not talk to me in the house. And he told me that at this meeting, he said, the CIA has been talking about you, and he said, please be careful. That's number 2. A third time, we were in Phoenix. We were doing a lecture, and during a break, this fellow approached me, and he was absolutely military. I mean, very erect stance, buzz cut, haircut, neatly pressed pants, sharp crease, shiny black shoes. I mean, if this guy wasn't military or intelligence, I don't know what he was. But he told me, because I had been lecturing and showing photographs, slides of the helicopters, and close up, so you could see there's no markings or anything like that. And he said, we're, and that's a word he uses, we're. He didn't say they. He said, we're only sending those so we don't have to hurt you. Now, I did take that as kind of a threat, but that wasn't. But it doesn't bother me. People threaten you all the time, whether they can carry out what they're saying or not. And those people, I'm sure, could if they wanted to, depending how far they want to push it. But we were staying in the public a lot then, so I don't think they were going to do anything because we were on TV and radio, magazines at that time. So I felt reasonably safe doing that. But one of the other things that happened, Betty went out to go to work one morning, and she come in quick. She said, something's in the back of my car. So I went out to her car, and there was a gallon jug, and in that gallon jug was a good-sized piece of rotted meat. And I took this to mean probably you're going to be dead meat or something like that. Because it was not in there. Betty doesn't carry. Yeah, she doesn't carry that stuff around with her. I can assure you that's not the case.
I'm sure she doesn't.
Usually we cook our food and we get it fresh, So I considered that another threat. No, I had one incident that was interesting, but I don't really know if it has anything to do with anything. I was a student pilot at the time. And I went to the airport and got the plane that I was supposed to be taking up that I had reserved. I got in the plane. I'm doing a pre-flight check. I'd already done the outside, got inside. And when I started moving the elevator controls, there was a loud, like, boing, 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 like the cable had snapped or broke. And this was an airplane that was fairly new. It was less than a year old. But,
that is new.
I can't say that was anything other than maybe a maintenance problem, maybe something that was just wrong with the airplane. It was a little scary, but they gave me another airplane the way I went. But that one made me stop and think a little bit. But, even though I take these things lightly, my sense of humor, Patricia.
Yes, you've got a great sense of humor.
Not much bothers me. But one time I was coming back from Massachusetts, and I'm flying along, and coming toward me, I see 3 black Huey helicopters. And all of a sudden, I'm all alone. I'm over a wooded area, and I'm starting to think, oh, my God, am I going to have a student pilot accident? Are these guys coming after me? Or, what's going to happen? Well, what happened is they passed under me by about 500 feet or so, and that was the end of that. But it just shows you the paranoia was starting to set in because I was wondering if something was going to happen or not. But
well, that's the fine line here, and it makes it very difficult, if I can just say this, because I think with all of these eyes on you and cars tailing you and helicopters over your house, and we're going to get to the break-ins and the drugging also. I mean, of course, any normal person would start to question everything. And that may be part of their MO, that they want you to cross that line and look crazy so that nobody believes you.
Well,
that might be part of what they're doing.
What happened was I became what you might call hypervigilant. We were going to Chicago to do some TV shows with Betty and I and police officer Fawcett. And I got to the desk, and I just gave the guy my name and whatnot. He says, Mr. Luca's already boarded. So I said, well, must be, another guy with the same name. I says, well, my name is Robert, and I'm from Cheshire. He says, yeah. He's Robert Luca from Cheshire has already boarded the plane. So
what?
Larry, and Larry Fawcett witnessed this. But it got to him, too. Anyway, we got on the airplane, and the seat that I was assigned was there. Nobody was in it, so, I figured, okay. I think this is their way of trying to let you know, we know where you are, what you're doing. We got an eye on you.
Yeah.
Trying to make you nervous. Well, it doesn't work with me because I figured, hey, we're going to Chicago. But Larry, who was sitting in back of us, he's sitting there, and all of a sudden he feels something like a pinprick in his neck, which is, probably a nerve or something on his shirt and whatnot. And later on, he told me, I thought somebody jabbed me with a needle.
Oh, God.
So,
it's not, you can laugh about it now because it was getting over the line, but you can see how it happens, to anybody.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Here's a trained police officer, Larry Fawcett, his mind was spinning with what are they doing? What are they do to us?
But I have to, just for a minute, I want to change the subject because I know you knew Larry very well.
I did,
We were up in New Hampshire. There was an area that was having a lot of UFO sightings. It was verified by the state police and by a lot of witnesses. And a fellow that was a newspaper reporter contacted Betty and I, and we started going up there. Well, there was one area a few miles out of town, and it's very rural, where every now and then they would see UFOs coming right over this field. So Larry Fawcett and this journalist and another police officer, three of them, decided to go up there and sit in the car in the open field and just wait for a few nights. Well, they didn't have to wait long. It was either the first or second night. They're sitting there, and these lights started approaching the field real low, and they were not airplane marker lights. They were different colors and whatnot. Now, here's two police officers that are armed, and a journalist. And you know what they did? They started the car and got the hell out of there.
Oh, are you kidding me? Oh,
no,
God. I didn't know Larry was a baby. Oh, God bless him. Well, that is something else, huh?
That was just, I couldn't help it.
I know.
It was just hilarious. It cracked me up.
You know what, Bob? You also bring up a really important point. A lot of people get very freaked out. They think they want to see this. And I've even had skeptics that have seen it, and it just totally turns them around. They get extremely terrified. And thank goodness you and Betty are so grounded that these things don't scare you. And certainly the government or whomever they are, I think it's more than just the FBI and CIA that were bothering you, but it just, you guys have been able to weather the storm, which is not easy to do. So good job.
It's what you call the moment of truth, I guess, when things come right down to the wire, and there they are in front of you. Like Whitley Strieber, I know you know Whitley. He invited us up to his cabin in New York where he had all those sightings, and he said, would you like to come up and see him? So we said, yeah, sure. And he said, well, aren't you afraid? That was the first thing he came out with. And we said, no. Yeah. Unfortunately, we didn't get our schedule together with his, and we never got to go. But I really had hopes that we would see the beings that he had, because they're different than the ones that we had, been in contact with.
Yes, exactly. Yes, they were different. So, that's too bad that you didn't hook up with him before he left New Hampshire. Wow.
I know. I wish we had.
I think California. Yeah.
I keep hoping now. I keep hoping that one group anyway will return, because I have so many questions, and I would like to get some answers at least. You know, I'm getting up there to 80 now. Before I leave this earth, damn it, I want to find out what's going on.
I'm right with you. I think it's about time they answered our questions. So that would be great,
Yeah.
you know, to have that next experience with an alien or ET and find out, well, what are they doing here? How many races are there on this planet? We know there's many. I mean, certainly more than 3.
Oh, Betty was told back in the 60s that there are 70 some odd races. And I have read reports from some military personnel that said they personally had seen 43. So, and then I've heard a couple that said there were over 100, but I don't know. I can only go by what they told Betty, if hoping that they were being honest, or maybe that was it at the time, and it may have increased or decreased by now, because that was in the 60s, which of course is some time ago.
Right. Yes. Yes.
But they are here, and Betty and I have seen basically the Greys and the tall, what they call the elders. They're very tall. They're about I'm 6 foot, and I come about up to their shoulder, so they're probably 7 foot or better.
Yeah,
very
7
pale,
feet tall.
Yeah, very pale skin, blue eyes, and they were the only time I had seen them, and she had seen them more than me, but the only time I had seen them, they were in long white robes, not clothing that we would associate with what we wear. And then there was a group of little ones that are like a foot and a half tall maybe, and Betty had done some beautiful artwork depicting them so people could see what they looked like. But those are the only ones that we've seen. Different craft we've seen belonging to the same, I was going to say the same aliens. However, the craft that Betty saw did differ from the ones that picked me up back in 1967. The craft was different. So, but the beings looked the same, and but the uniforms were different. So,
one thing I have to tell everybody also is that your wife is not only beautiful but extremely talented as an artist, and she was able to draw all of these and paint all of these ships and the aliens and their uniforms in incredible detail. And I think that's one of the reasons that you are of such interest to the alphabet agencies, because she was able to do all of this in living color. But again, here's the thing that bothers me. You guys offered to sit down with the alphabet agencies and tell them everything you have. Here's what we have. Here are the paintings. Here are the drawings. Here are our notes. And they didn't want to do that. They wanted to play the skullduggery, this cloak and dagger nonsense, and try to intimidate you. I find that appalling. I mean, you are citizens of the United States, and there is supposed to be some freedom here, last I heard. And this way of treating you and other abductees and witnesses at Roswell. Also, we had people on the show that had done a lot of research into this, and the people at Roswell, their children and their grandchildren got threatened about Roswell. If you tell anybody, kill your whole family. They were told this. Little children were told this. I mean, that's so wrong,
It gets even more ridiculous than that, Patricia. When we were living in Virginia before, in Hayes, Virginia, I took a picture of a black helicopter. In the background was a cigar-shaped, what appeared to be a cigar-shaped UFO. And coincidentally, there was a bridge nearby, the Coleman Bridge, about 3 miles from where we lived. Someone put a sign on that bridge, said UFO sighted here. So I had a good picture, so I called Langley, because I know they have some good photo interpretation software, and I offered to send them not the picture but the negative so they could test it. You know what they told me? They weren't interested.
Oh, yeah. How about that, huh? It's just that they're going to follow you. They're going to. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, here I'm telling them, this is film. You can examine this and see what it is, and it's clear. It's not blurry at all. You can see the helicopter helicopter in the foreground and this thing way above, a long cigar-shaped object, and they weren't even interested. Well, maybe they were interested, but maybe they just didn't want to admit it.
Yeah, probably.
Well,
maybe they had their own picture of it. Who knows? I mean, they're certainly not telling us. But now you and I share other experiences too. I know the black helicopters were over my house as soon as I met you guys. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, Larry Fawcett too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, they broke into your house. I mean, this is such a violation. Let's talk about this, because I think this just is the worst of the worst of what happened to you in your own home.
It's not only our home. We had 3 different homes that were broken into before we moved to Florida. 3 different places that we owned were broken into. It's just unbelievable. And nobody saw who did it. Now, in Cheshire, of course, they broke in and they drugged us. And I'll go into more detail on that in a minute. And when we were living in Higginham, they broke in. Now, there was firearms, jewelry, computers, camera equipment. All they took was 2 illustrations Betty had drawn of the propulsion system of the craft. That's all they took. And it gets better. That was a rural area, so I had to contact the state police. And the state trooper came up because he had to fill out a form so I could collect. They destroyed the door on a new 30-foot trailer. So he had to fill out a form that I could give to the insurance company, of course, to get paid for the door. Well, he was a young fellow, and we sat down and talked. And I told him, I said, look, we're heavily involved in the UFO phenomena. I said, my gut feeling is that this has something to do with government, because that's all that was taken. And while we were gone, I left a recorder running, a sound-activated recorder, so you could hear them break. You could hear them breaking in. You could hear them hammering on the door, but nobody said a word when they were inside. So these were not amateurs.
No, they were professionals. That's right.
Yeah. And the state trooper agreed, and he said, look, he says, I will tell you if I can find anything out. He said, I will tell you. Okay, so a week goes by, and I go down to the trooper's office to see if he's had any information, and there's another trooper there. And I said, well, where's Trooper so-and-so? He said, he got transferred. I said, well, where did he get transferred to? Oh, I don't know. So there again, apparently that guy got moved so that he wouldn't be talking to us.
Exactly. They didn't want him to help you.
Right. And while we're on that subject, I had filed many complaints with the Federal Aviation Administration about the helicopters coming over the house so low and all. On a Saturday, a man from the Federal Aviation, General Aviation District Office in Boston, that's whose jurisdiction we were under, drove on his own time down to our house on a Saturday morning, and unfortunately we weren't home. But he left a note on our front door. So the weekend's over. Come Monday, I call him at his office at the FAA, and I'm told that he's not there. I said, well, is he on vacation? No, he's been transferred. Where's he transferred to? We don't know. And he was so interested, he wanted to come down and see what we were talking about. So a couple of years later, Connecticut Magazine did an article on us, and they found the guy. And they asked him about it, and he said, I don't remember. He says, I think they were just confused because they couldn't see the markings. It might have been dark. And he knew I had sent that guy a half a dozen close-up photos of these helicopters. So apparently they just told him, keep your mouth shut, and that's it.
Yeah.
But one of the other guys there that I was talking to at the FAA also said, when I described the helicopters and sent the photos, he says, this looks like a CIA operation to me. And between you and me and your listeners, when the house was broken into and we were drugged, I believe it was the CIA. I don't think the FBI was into that. I really don't think it was.
I think
them
you're
because,
right.
Yeah, they were very professional. They came in. I think it was 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, if I remember right. I'd have to look in the book now to see the exact time. And Betty and I had already gone to bed, and all of a sudden I distinctly heard 2 voices, 2 male voices in the kitchen. And the kitchen was off a short hallway from the bedroom to the right. And I said, whoa, what's this? And I looked. We had a large German Shepherd dog. And he got up. He slept on the floor at the foot of the bed. He got up, and all of a sudden his front legs spread apart like a wishbone, and he went right down on his face. So I said, "Oh, something's wrong here." I reached in my nightstand where I kept the .38 revolver, and I'm going to go out and talk to these guys. Well, The last thing, the last thing I remembered was reaching for that revolver. We got up in the morning, and boy, I had a wicked headache. I mean, kind of almost like a hangover, and so did Betty, and Betty doesn't even drink. So we went to work, and we came home that night, and she said, my left arm has been hurting me all day, and she's right-handed. I said, that's funny, because my right arm has been really paining me all day. So we took off our shirts, and right where a little lower than where you get a vaccination, there was about 1.25 inch diameter black and blue mark. It was black and blue and a little bit of yellow, and right in the middle was a puncture mark on both of us. So I called our family doctor, and I said, look, if we go and, get a blood test, will anything show up? And he said, no, it's too late by now. He said, no, blood test won't reveal anything. But the other thing was we were kind of in a fix because, we thought of calling the police, and what are the police going to think? They're going to think we're nuts because they already know we've been in the paper about the UFO phenomena. So we can't call the police.
Especially back then. Yeah.
Yeah. So nobody's going to believe you. So we just had to keep our mouth shut about it. And then we had all this going on. And then in 1982, Larry Warren hears Betty and I talking on a radio show. No, he saw the Hartford Courant newspaper. He saw an article on it. So he called me at work. And he says, I've been in the military. He said, I had a UFO experience while on active duty. And he said, I'd really like to talk about it. So I gave him our address, and we made an appointment for him to come over the house. And Larry came over and told us about what now is known as the Rendlesham Forest incident, the landing of a UFO outside a U.S. Air Force base. And it has grown. A lot more witnesses have come forth since then. But at any rate, once we had interviewed Larry, the surveillance on us got worse.
I bet.
They were, and where he lived in Southern, he and his brother were out one night, and they grabbed Larry and beat the hell out of him and split his skull open.
Yes.
And that was
not a robbery. It was a very dangerous situation. Yeah, that was not a robbery. No, you're right. It was very, very dangerous times for Larry. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
so that's why.
But the whole thing, I think people need to know this. It's like, look, you're not supposed to have the CIA breaking into your house. The CIA is not even supposed to be operating in the United States, but it apparently does, or something like that is operating.
Absolutely.
And so, they're breaking into your home, they're drugging you. How do you know that you're not going to have a reaction to the drug and die? It's very, very scary stuff. Again, extremely violating, invasive, should not be happening in this country.
Well,
it just should not be.
Yeah, but the secret there is, Patricia, as far as having a reaction and dying, the answer there is they don't care.
That's right.
It's that simple.
That's right. Yeah, they don't. Well, I don't know if you remember this, but you and Betty and I all went out to dinner one night. I went home, and at that time I had a big white dog, very similar to your Lukey, and I went to bed, and my dog always got up at 6 a.m. I mean, just clockwork, like every morning, 6 o'clock, she was up. Well, the next thing I know, I opened my eyes and my dog is just waking up, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So
That's what
I know something happened, right?
That's
because
what you get for talking to us.
I guess so.
Yeah,
But I mean, that's the kind of thing they do with just, it's just, this is what they do, and people need to know about this. This is a very serious thing. Now, I don't know if they still do this kind of thing, but I think the abductions have tapered off, and so maybe I think they're doing other things that maybe even are worse. But
hopefully they're not. No, I'm just going to say hopefully they're not, Patricia. But because of that attitude that they developed, I developed the attitude, and I told Betty, I said, I don't care. I said, anybody comes through the door of this house at night that doesn't belong here, I will shoot them and ask questions later. And I don't care if it's a government agency or who, because they have no right to be doing that. It's simple as that.
That's right.
And
I
don't care who they are. It's sad.
Yeah.
To have to live that way, but I went around for years. It was like my gun was like carrying American Express. I wouldn't go anywhere without it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you had good reason to carry it. My God.
Absolutely.
Well, and I was talking to Betty last week, and I reminded her she's the one who taught me how to shoot. So anyhow, I'll never forget that. She really knew how to teach me. I got a bullseye the first time out. It was great. I'm going to take a short commercial break, everybody. I know everybody's texting in. They are on the edge of their seats with what you're talking about tonight, Bob. I just want to remind everybody that the Andreasson Affair is still available on Amazon.com. It was a New York Times bestseller written by Raymond Fowler. It's a great book. And also the new book, it's called A Lifting of the Veil, and that is also available on Amazon.com. So we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. You are listening to Supernatural Girls Radio.
Pure essential oils, specialized minerals, and a revolutionary anti-aging technology. Astridian combines the best of all scientifically proven ingredients in easy-to-use creams, lotions, and concentrated serums. Astridian's advanced line of products take your skin to a new level of being healthy and beautiful. We offer a variety of collections that address all your skin concerns. The Essential Anti-Aging Series treats and moisturizes your skin for a long-lasting, younger look. The Multivitamin Series promotes healthy skin with high-quality vitamins and minerals. The Sports Series restores skin from cellular damage and stress. Astridian also offers a revitalizing solution for hair and a professional series for doctors and medical spas. Visit astridian.love today and begin your new journey to healthy, beautiful, youthful skin. Astridian, beyond your expectations.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With Cosmic Fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.kosmicfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girls Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my dear friend and great guest, Bob Luca, who is the author of a new book with his wife, Betty. It is called A Lifting of the Veil. And we are talking tonight about some very, very startling facts about what the alphabet agencies do once they find out you've had a UFO abduction experience. Now, Bob, you do have a great sense of humor. And, excuse me, I want you to tell the story of the missile that, excuse me.
Are you okay?
Take it away, Bob. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We had these helicopters so often over the house. We had moved from Meriden, Connecticut to Cheshire, Connecticut. And we no sooner than moved, within a couple of days, these helicopter flights started over the home in Cheshire. And, I mean, they were low enough at times, I could have hit them with a baseball rather. And had I known, if I could only have gotten my hands on a paintball gun back then, I could have marked them. And I doubt if they would have complained because they were so low, they were illegally low. Plus, they were too close to residential areas. They're supposed to maintain a 500-foot lateral distance, and they didn't. They flew right directly over our house. So anyway, we thought about it, and what the heck can we do about this? So a friend of mine that was in the military built me an exact replica of a surface-to-air missile. So I noticed that when these helicopters came over the house, almost always they approached from the north. So I knew what they could see because while I was flying, I had flown over the house myself. I knew exactly what they could see depending on the altitude they were at.
Right,
so
right.
As you had to clear the house, or almost clear the house, before you could see down to the cement patio floor. So my friend built this missile, which was beautiful. I mean, it looked exactly like the real thing. It's same height, same size, same diameter, same color, everything. So Buddy and I are sitting around one day just talking on a weekend, and all of a sudden you hear the whop, 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 whop. Very familiar, very distinctive blade sound to the Huey UH-1s. They were almost always UH-1s. Once in a while, we get a Sikorsky Black Hawk, but usually the UH-1s. So I run out quick and set this rocket up on the patio, and Betty and I go out there in the backyard, and we're waiting. Well, the guy clears the roof so he can see down, and that helicopter, which all of a sudden turned up, I could see the bottom of it. Instead of looking at the side, I could see the bottom. And he whipped that thing around in the opposite direction. I thought the blades were going to break from the stress put on him, and away he went back north. And I told Betty, I said, I'll bet you this guy probably is on his way back to get a shower and change his underwear, because I think we put a good scare into him. And that's a great story. Typical of my sense of humor.
Yeah, you have a good one, that's for sure. Well, I didn't mean to start joking, but I'm glad you were able to tell that.
Hope not.
I don't usually joke on this.
I like to. I had a little fun with them numerous times. We during one of the IRS audits, there was just myself and the auditor. I didn't use the CPA at the time because I'd had enough of that and enough of the expense. So the auditor asked me for documents that are almost 12 years old, and I knew they can't do that. They can't ask me for anything more than 7 years. So he said, look, he says, I can get this information from your ex-wife. He says, I can audit her. Well, we didn't get along very good, so I said, go ahead, knock yourself out. Needless to say, we gave up, or he gave up on that line of questioning. But they do try to intimidate
I bet
you.
he saw that would just make you happy. Oh, yeah.
There was another incident where, and this had nothing to do with UFO phenomena. I had a business, and my business partner took off with the money that was supposed to be paid, tax money on the employees. I was getting a divorce, and the place got robbed all in the same month. I had no money, no tools, no job. And the IRS called me in, and they said, well, these taxes have to be paid. I said, well, why don't you go after my partner? He's the guy that took off with the money.
Yeah.
And he said, we don't know where he is. So I said, well, I can't pay him. He says, well, he said, we can put you in jail. I said, well, go ahead, put me in jail. And that was the end of it. The threat was gone, and they never came after me again. They must have went after my ex-partner.
Maybe they found him. Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Well, I found him actually sometime later. And not only did the IRS get their hands on him, but I called his ex-wife because he left her and the kids with no support, no nothing.
Oh,
so I had
that's awful.
Awful. Yeah, I had a friend that was very good. He found out where he was working, where he was living, the whole bit. So I just gladly turned him over.
Good. Yeah, I might as well. Karma.
Yeah, I had the last laugh, that's for sure. But
yeah, you sure did with all of these things, because you and Betty, again, you've been through this. This has dominated your life for a very long time, and you've done remarkably well given the amount of pressure and the amount of psychological warfare that they were doing to you. I mean, you guys were just tremendous through all of this kind of stuff. And I know you still have very interesting paranormal experiences that happen in your new home. And you're still going through it, but in a different level. It seems like the government harassment or whatever, whomever they were, that's backed off a little bit. But you also have come across, and we want to get into this tonight. I know you and I discussed this off air. Some of the prophecies, the information that you and Betty were given by the alien beings is now coming to pass. So let's talk about that a little bit. Yeah.
Well, the information actually was given to Betty during the 60s and 70s. And I just recently started watching some videos by David Wilcock on YouTube. And he has discussed a lot of this stuff in either 2020, between now and 2020, or 23 to 24 time period, there's going to be a very dramatic event concerning our sun. And during this event, things are going to happen. The earth is going to be hit, and people, unfortunately, people are going to die. And people are going to be changed. Now, I'm just going by what he is saying, and he has many inside sources. So, people are going to be changed in an instant to your light body. In other words, your spirit, not your physical body. Is really just a vehicle that totes around your spirit, your mind, your soul, whatever you want to call it. And the statement is that this is going to be a major coronal mass ejection. It's going to emanate from the very center of the sun. So it'll come out in space. It'll look like a stone dropped in water. It'll come out as a ring. And the interesting thing is that they said their information is that it's going to hit somewhere in the Pacific and close to land. So thinking of that, I thought, gee, that something there sounds kind of familiar. So I started looking at some of the old writings that Betty had, and I think it was January 15th, 83. The writings talk about a thick cloud. Now, this is a cloud in space that's going to engulf our entire solar system, and we're already in it, or partway in it. NASA has verified this. This cloud is supposed to be highly magnetic and energetic, and it is what will be the cause of our sun doing this burp or coronal mass ejection. Now, the interesting thing is that they had said that it's going to happen somewhere around the Pacific Ocean. Well, when we looked at one of Betty's writings, January 15th, 1983, it says, the thick cloud is scattering the penetration of light and the streams are bouncing upward, changing the downward patterns. Sudden changes, pebbles shall fall. Well, they mentioned meteors. So I assume pebbles shall fall, probably meteors. It says the falling light will glow magenta and the air will take on an odorous stench. But here's the part that gets me. So the ground will blacken and then turn gray. High winds are also mentioned, and that's something that David Wilcock and his insiders have mentioned, that there's going to be very high winds. And it says, the sun is on an inward drift. Now, fortunately, we're in the West. I hope this is correct. It says, those of the West will not feel the waves, but those in the East will suffer the graves. And the taste in the air shall be bitter to the tongue, and blisters will form on the skin and the scalp. That sounds exactly, like the eastern portion of the world. And it said that some of the Pacific Ocean will be boiled away when this occurs. So I don't know. That's the writing that Betty got about 40 years ago, and here we are in the cloud. Right. And there's another writing, and this I find interesting. This was February 11th, 1978. They said, I will remove out of place those that be unfair. Now, what Wilcock is talking about is, as you know, right now there's 30,000 some odd sealed indictments that are starting to be opened, and these people are being tried by military tribunals. And this will be the people that have been sex trafficking children, and especially those that have been sacrificing children, and the money manipulators, the bankers, those that really use the world's finances for their own personal gain, while the rest of us go along our merry way trying to scratch out a living. So this runs hand in hand with that as well. And it has already started. I think I mentioned to you they already arrested a cardinal of the Vatican, and he has been tried and found guilty. They already arrested John of God, who raped something like 600 women, and they already have called to court one of Obama's attorneys, that was an attorney when he was president. I'm surprised nobody got Hillary yet, but maybe that'll happen. I don't know. But anyway, that's another another connection. Now, the beings on David's show, he mentioned that the beings told them that when this happens, this flash of light that will be almost instantaneous, the people that are spiritually have been doing the work will be changed instantly to your spirit or your light body. Now, he was told that, and he just discussed it a couple of days ago on a video I was watching. Now, during a 1978 abduction of my own, the elders told me, plain and simple, it said, you do not die. Rather, you are released of your earth physical body and go on as a light being that is a real you. So again, we're running, very similar things between what David Wilcox is saying and what Betty was told all those years ago. And there's a couple of more mundane that are proof that people can follow up for themselves. Betty was told back then also, that man is going to go sterile. If you go on the internet and look up the studies that have been done, man is in fact going sterile. Sperm counts are dropping all over the world, and people can verify that.
Yes, infertility is a huge problem. That's right. That's right. Betty predicted that from what they told her.
Right. Another one was they said you will see snow in strange places. Well, on July 3rd, 2011, it snowed in the Atacama Desert in Chile, 32 inches. Yes. Now, why that's a big deal? The Atacama Desert is the driest place on Earth. Thanks in part to, I guess, the Andes Mountain and the Chilean Coast Range naturally block moisture from the region. But parts of the 600-mile-long plateau have never even experienced a recordable rainfall. And yet they had almost 3 feet of snow. And you can also include incredible. In that, Iraq and even Death Valley, which is, like they told her, that you're going to see snow in strange places. They also went on to say that there will come a time when they cannot predict the weather. And apparently, I think we're seeing that somewhat today.
We certainly are. I mean, the weather has changed radically. They can't predict the weather accurately anymore. I mean, it's a moment-by-moment thing. And here in New England, I mean, yes, our weather changes fairly rapidly, but they just can't predict it. They'll say, well, today we're going to have rain for 10 days. Well, we might not. I mean, they really don't know. It's predicting the weather has become a big problem. So, yes, it's in line, very much in line with Betty's writings from long ago.
Oh, yeah. Another thing that I found interesting, according to Wilcox, he said there will be warnings when this solar event starts, that what is going to happen as the sun releases more energy, the center of the Earth will warm up, and there will be more and more volcanic eruptions. Well, I went this morning to the Smithsonian Institution volcanic program. And according to them, as of April 15th or so, there's approximately 47 volcanoes erupting right now, and some of them are very recent. The other thing that tends to verify this, and this is right from NASA, they said that Venus, Earth, Mars, and the moons of Jupiter are all getting warmer. Now, it's kind of foolish for the people that are going on TV and in the news and all that are blaming man's industrialization and running equipment by electricity and oil and gas. They're blaming everything on that. And that's not the case. It's proven these other planets are heating up as well. Yeah. And unless I'm wrong, there isn't many people there to be doing this.
At least not on the surface, right?
As far as I know. I mean, God only knows what they've been up to that we don't know about. And some of the other things you mentioned that were kind of interesting, the money. I was talking about the deep state, the Illuminati, the evil ones being removed. Now, that's in Betty's writings, too. They said at the time that this occurs, the evil ones will be removed from the earth. And what David Wilcox is saying is that a lot of these indictments are for, like I said, the ones that are doing terrible things to children, and the ones that are the money manipulators, the Illuminati, the world bankers, and the indictments are for a lot of those people. And you don't have to look too far, because if you go back to the Bush administration, they went public back then. It was Donald Rumsfeld announced to the public that there was a $2 trillion that they could not account for. Now, that's enough money to start a new civilization. I mean, yeah, I'd like to have
it
a
really
little
is.
bit of that.
Yeah.
Now,
me too.
and then during during the Obama administration, of course, we saw our national debt double. But before everybody gets all excited and starts cursing me out, I'm not saying that Obama was responsible for this, but what I'm saying is that it seems that no matter who is president or what administration is in, these people that are siphoning off this money have total control. It appears
yes, I do.
that the money is gained by severely overcharging. Like when you look at an airplane that costs $1 billion, you have to ask yourself,
yes.
That's a lot of money for an airplane. So it looks like what's happening is the government is being charged these ridiculous prices for a lot of the things that they are purchasing, and this money is going into the secret space program, which benefits not you and I. And the interesting thing here, yeah, for sure, during the election in 2016, if people were paying attention, Vladimir Putin threatened at that time to release information about the secret space program, because most people in this country don't even know there is one. Back in the 80s.
Yes, I know. It's not talked about.
Betty and I met
it's
someone.
so funny because Go ahead.
I just think Betty and I met someone in the military, that showed us documentation, photos, and whatnot. And he said that at that time, they had a United States space program with spaceships, not satellites, spaceships. And that was in the 80s. So, I mean, how much money could they have
How far
drained?
have they gotten? Yeah.
Well, you remember, Gary McKenna. He's the guy that hacked into the Department of Defense computers and found out that the United States Navy has a space fleet. He also found listings of non-terrestrial officers. And for his trouble, the United States wanted to bring him to this country and put him in jail for 7 years. However, in England, thank God, they will not extradite him. So he has been able to put this information out and at least make people that are half awake aware that this is going on. And the Navy, most people look to the Air Force, they know about UFOs and all. Not really quite accurate, because the Navy is much more heavily involved in the UFO phenomena than the Army
and
or
always
the Air
has
Force.
been, even with the paranormal stuff. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I remember Andrea Puhovich. And Andrea was the one who told us about Project Penguin, which was started in 1944 by the Navy. And he's the one that clued us in, that told us that, in fact, it is the Navy that is behind a lot of these things. And after I met you and Betty, somebody who had a friend in Navy intelligence told him that my name was in their database. And I'm like, again, why the
nice.
Navy? But then, see how you have enriched my life.
It's just amazing what they do.
Let me ask you this, Bob. Again, we could talk all night about all your fabulous ventures with alphabet agencies, but I do want you to tell the story about the FBI showing up at your place of work, because that's a funny one too. But what do you think this story is about? Lorraine Cordini. This is the lady I talked about at the beginning of the show. The story, for everybody in our audience, is on our Facebook page. Go take a look at it, read the whole thing. It's fairly detailed. But what do you think was going on here? They took her, they handcuffed her, they took her away. She had just crash landed in a UFO as an abductee. What in the world were they doing with her?
I think probably they were either erasing memories or putting in screen memories, because the last thing they would want was for her to come out with exactly what happened in any kind of detail. They have done that to a number of people where they've either wiped their memory or they put screen memories on that seem real to you. I mean, they seem really believable, but yet they have been planted, and it could take some pretty deep, very deep hypnosis and possibly a number of sessions to get around that.
And chemicals, I would think. I think medication too, pharmaceuticals used at the same time. But she also, go ahead. You know.
Oh no, I was waiting. I was just going to say, as we know, they have no problem using chemicals on people.
No, we know that. Both of us know that, and Betty too. But with Lorraine, what I really. Let's gas them and then we'll inject them. Okay, sure, why not? But with Lorraine, what I found so interesting was the involvement of the military, and then there were two different alien races involved that she recalled also. So it's it concerns me very much, especially given the fact that when we had Kevin Gannon on and Doc talking about these young men who've been abducted. And one of the things they talked about that had not been revealed in the show that they were on oxygen is that the men who were taking the young men were military trained. So I have to start putting these pieces together here and wonder if this is a continuation of these UFO abductions. I do think there's alien involvement, and I know Gannon and Doc would not agree with me. That's fine. But the way they're able to spirit these people away and then they bring them back and there's no sign of how they were even killed, there is something else paranormal going on. And now I read the story about poor Lorraine and I think, well, this is going on back in the 70s. So it's just a very interesting case. You know, and I feel for her in this. It's a terrible, confusing experience with military and two different aliens and crash landing herself. I mean, it's an incredible story, and I can't believe that it's not getting more attention because it has every element in it.
Oh, sure, but you know, the thing is, the thing that is irritating, you would look to our military to protect us, and that's not. That's not the case. You can be as fearful of them as you are of some of the aliens, and all the aliens do not get along. By the way, so there can be one group that's doing one thing, and another group that's being friendly and trying to help. That's going to be a big problem to sort out when all this stuff breaks, which hopefully will be this year.
Yes, I hope so. Because it's, people, you can't deny it anymore. They can't deny it because that's what John D'Souza told us, who's former FBI. He said they're not even bothering to try to deny it because everybody's got a cell phone with a camera. Everybody's got access to using their cell phone as a video camera. So how can you continue to deny this stuff?
Oh, yeah. But, back in 1995 to 2000, when we lived in another part of Virginia, Hayes, Virginia, I had something done to me a couple of times, and I don't know what. I've never been hypnotized for it, and this was after we had been drugged by the CIA or whoever in Cheshire. Several mornings I had woken up, and my underwear is on backwards, my T-shirt and my undershorts are all, they're all stained with this pink stuff. Like what? Remember Betty Hill reported a pink stain on her dress when she was abducted?
On her dress, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so this happened more than once. And not only that, I'd get up and take a shower, and when I wipe, we had, big white fluffy bath towels. I'd wipe off with that towel, and the whole towel would turn pink within like 20 minutes. And I talked to Dr. David Jacobs about that. because he said he had a number of pieces of this material that he had sent to various laboratories to try to find out what exactly the material was, and not one of the laboratories that could identify it. And I know something here. I may undergo hypnosis just for my own personal satisfaction. I don't know if I want to know or not, to be honest with you. You know, it might open up another can of worms that I don't care to look into. But I know I put my clothes on straight, not inside out, and I know that I didn't have anything pink that I was drinking at night. Yeah. So you know, and if it was once, I would say, you know, well, something happened, I wasn't paying attention. But this was like 3 or 4 times while we were living there. So something was going on.
There's definitely something that happened. Yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes.
There was another aspect to this thing that we didn't discuss, though. There was actually an upside to this government surveillance. As you know, Betty and I used to go to Florida. I worked in Florida in the winter and Connecticut in the summer. Right. Well, every time we went down there or back to Connecticut, my phone was hooked up immediately. One time we got back to Connecticut. We got back to Connecticut on a Saturday evening, Patricia. And I went out to the post, and I found a live connection. You know, I'm a techie guy, so not a problem. I found a live connection. I hooked up my own phone. Sunday morning, the telephone company was there. And in Connecticut, you never see them on a Sunday.
Oh,
Sunday
God,
morning,
no.
they show up.
Yeah.
Well, you could be making calls anywhere for free. Shoot, if I'd have known that yesterday, I would have been doing it. But that was one of the rare advantages. Other than that, we had a number of experiences. One time, just going home from work, I made several stops. I was followed by 3 different police cars all the way to where we lived. Okay. Another time we were
had an escort. Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, we were in Tennessee, and we're going down Route 40, and all of a sudden, snap! The water pump broke and went through the radiator of my car, and I was just passing a tractor trailer. So I got by the guy. Yeah, he slowed down, thank God, and I pulled off to the side of the road. We weren't there 25, 30 seconds, and it was a state trooper right behind us. And it just seemed like someone was always around. I literally saw cops looking at our marker number, and I don't know if they were writing it down or whatever, but I mean, I'm not on the most wanted list or anything, so, you know, it wasn't related to anything like that. But,
that's right.
Things like that were, you know, it was an advantage if I wanted to make a phone call.
Yeah, few of them. Right. Well, they always had tats on you, except for one night when they didn't.
That's
so
right.
Please tell the audience.
Well, as you know, Betty and I aren't big fans of cold weather. That's for sure.
Right.
So one night we're in Connecticut, and it was really getting cold. So we're talking to each other. It's cold. I don't like this, and so on. So, well, my trailer was parked over at Eddie's house. We could get it and go to Florida. And, of course, Betty is all right. Yeah, that's a good idea. So about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, I get my truck, and we head over to – my friend Eddie was nice enough to let me park the trailer there because he had a big yard. And very quietly, I hook up the trailer, and Sunday night we're off to Florida. Well, we get back – I forget if we were there a week or a couple of weeks, and my boss, my supervisor, says, "Hey, I got to talk to you." I said, "Wow, what's up?" He says, Wednesday, he said, the Wednesday after you left, he says, 2 guys were here from the FBI looking for you. I said, well, that's interesting. So I said, well, I told Betty, I said, well, I guess we probably better go down to New Haven and see what these fellows want. So we went to the federal building in New Haven, Connecticut, which is where their offices are. And all we gave them was our name when we went in. They're behind the bulletproof glass partition. And this agent came out to see us and sat down at a little table they had there. And he said, "What can I do for you?" I said, "Well," I said, "my name is Robert Luca. This is my wife, Betty Ann." I said, "I work at Middletown Toyota." And I said, "My supervisors and my coworkers tell me that you fellas were in there looking for me a couple weeks ago on a Wednesday." "Well," he says, "no," he said, "we can't confirm or deny that," which is, that's standard BS. So while we're there, I said, "Well, look, while we're here," I said, "why are you guys tapping our telephone?" And supposedly he didn't know us. He said, "Well," he says, "we always get blamed." He said, "In your case, it's Air Force intelligence." That's what he told me right out.
Oh, my God.
So I said,
he blurted it out. That's too funny.
Well, a couple of months later, I talked to someone that was up in Air Force intelligence. And he said, no. He said, "We have to get a court order." He says, "It was the FBI." So here I am again, with nothing. I mean,
yeah, right. They just keep pointing fingers at everybody. I know, at each other. It's ridiculous. But that's a funny story because they really lost you. And they were kind of in a panic when they went to your place of business and they asked where you were because they had just you had gone off the radar for them. So,
oh, absolutely.
Again, somebody was they were assigned to following you, and they kind of lost you, and they had to be accountable for it.
I think they were a little embarrassed, too, because one of the things I used to do when I was younger was build race cars, and I was a street racer. And several of the times that they followed us, I got behind the cars that were following us, got their marker plate numbers, and gave them to Larry Fawcett. And these are the ones that came back as unissued. So when we were doing some TV and whatnot back then, I mentioned how that happened. I said, they must be newbies or amateurs that they're sending after us. I said, these can't be experienced agents because they're too easy to pick out. And that must have made them feel like really good.
Oh, I bet that really got them. Oh my gosh. Well, Bob, this has been such an exciting and wonderful time with you on the air, talking about everything you and Betty have been through. We haven't even scratched the surface. I want to make sure everybody knows that, again, the Andreasson Affair book is available on Amazon, as well as your new book, which details all of this, as well as the Department of Defense breaking into your computer. You have that documented, and that's in the book, so everybody should get that one as well. It's called A Lifting of the Veil. 2 great books. Make sure they're in your library.
The actual documents, copies of the actual documents are in the book, so people can see I'm not just making up stories or anything.
That's right. I've seen them myself, and they are there. So these will be great additions to your UFO libraries, everybody, and also it tells the personal experience of what Betty and Bob have been through since the Andreasson Affair has been released. It's so many years ago. My God, I can't believe it that I've known you all those years. So
yeah,
I'm telling our age, but that's okay. It's been a long time, and it's been wonderful.
The first 80 years has been a ball, and I'm looking forward to the next being just as much fun.
Oh, that's great. All right. I love that. Well, we'll be back next week, everybody, with another great show. And until then, we'll see you on the Blue Highway. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Patricia. Have a great evening.
And you too, Bob.
Okay, bye-bye now.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another radio adventure with Supernatural Girls.